What's the good theme music for Philadelphia? Rocky theme?
It has to be a Rocky, yeah. I would say Rocky theme song.
Put that pressure on her, so you got to type quick. Type quick.
Yeah.
Do you want Going the Distance?
Oh, no.
Gonna Fly Now?
Oh, no.
Or,
Eye of the Tiger.
Ray, just
Go Eye of
play
the
it.
Tiger.
Just play it.
Let's
We'll
go
be
Eye of
talking
the
long. We
Tiger.
can have it. We just play it.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. Well, there you go.
All right. Well, we'll just get right into it.
There you go. All right.
Now, we could name Jalen Hurts. I think that's obvious. Nick Serianni, that's obvious. All right. But to me, the guy who's making a case for the Hall of Fame is Howie Roseman, their general manager. And for this reason, he's now been the architect of 2 separate Super Bowl wins, been to a third. And there's 17 general managers or front office types, from my count, that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This puts him amongst that group of those that have impacted teams in that way with the roster construction. So he's won it with 2 different head coaches. I think he's one of the biggest beneficiaries in my eyes for at least looking at saying, all right, he's going to be the guy that I think ends up going into it after it's all said and done, especially if they win another one. The next group, the dudes, the guys, the Bradley Coopers, the Miles Tellers, the Shane Gillises, the Sly Stallone. It feels like if you're comparing the 2 fan bases between Kansas City and Philadelphia, it was a bunch of just guys being dudes, maybe some celebrities, but just guys who like Philly, all right? And then Kansas City had Taylor Swift. And don't get me wrong, Rob Riggle's in there. You got some other, famous people who are part of that too, but the Swifties kind of took it all over. And for Philly fans, they've been through some down times, but they're true fans. So I would say that group, the guys, the dudes over the Swifties, also won out in a big, big way. I'll also go as far as saying the Washington Commandos. They're a big beneficiary of this. In one way, yes, they got blown out in the NFC Championship game, but so did Kansas City. And so maybe Washington is not as far off from being a team that could potentially compete with the likes of a team in Kansas City. And I think when you go back and look at that game, you're like, hey, they're just getting started. Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, that whole group, another offseason, we'll see what they're capable of. But I think the Washington Commandos were watching thinking, we could have done better than this. I think the NFC Championship game was, not competitive, but it really was a Super Bowl for that matter. Next up is cheesesteaks. Cheesesteaks over barbecue. All right.
Ooh.
And it doesn't matter if it's Jim's West or Barry's Steaks, Geno's, Angelo's, Phillips, whoever you want to point to, wherever your favorite cheesesteak comes from there in Philly. All right. That was on the line, whether we realize that or not. All right. So it could be Arthur Bryant's, Oklahoma Joe's, Jack Stack, whatever. They took the L to the Philly cheesesteak in this matchup as well. So those are the biggest beneficiaries in my mind as compared to what we saw yesterday with the collateral damage.
That's fair.
Dang. Interesting.
Yeah, that's fair. The Howie Roseman discussion and the fact that he also, is doing this in not only the Tom Brady era, but the Patrick Mahomes era, I think also speaks volumes about just what he's built with the backup, with, quarterbacks that weren't first-round draft picks, and being able to do that. And also, how many times you see an NFL team, and by the way, Carson Wentz also, rough chapter in his history with the Eagles, what took place there.
Yeah, that doesn't fit the narrative here.
Yeah, but I'm saying he didn't get any burn time. Like, you wouldn't at least give him an opportunity.
Now we're straying away from what
okay,
this is.
but
but
the point is, he didn't get any burn time. Kenny Pickett did. And so I look at that and I go, Howie Roseman's sitting there looking across the field at a guy who can't get on the field and is thinking, we walked away from him. Like, how many times do teams whiff on or make a mistake or go through an injury with their highly drafted quarterback they gave a franchise deal to and still win a Super Bowl with a backup, and then win a Super Bowl after a coaching change with a guy who was also the backup to that quarterback once he got back healthy? It's pretty amazing what they've done with their lack of franchise first-round draft picked quarterback, which is sort of the discussion and the narrative that most people have when you can't win a Super Bowl unless you've got one of those guys.
I'm going to bring it back to the quarterback that won the Super Bowl and got the MVP award. It's interesting, beneficiaries. I look at Jalen Hurts as he's now a beneficiary of possibly being slated as the arch nemesis of Patrick Mahomes. Like, if you think about it, they're 1-1 now. If this Eagles team,
he's outplayed him in both, right?
And he's outplayed them in both. And so if you're thinking, okay, you know, who's the Peyton Manning to Tom Brady, or the Tom Brady to Peyton Manning, like, this could be the start of, at some point when we really get an opportunity to look back on how things have really gone between these two quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts could possibly find himself being the beneficiary of being a contemporary and a comparison of who's, you know, like, okay, he doesn't have as many Super Bowls, but they're just getting going. You know, and in some regards, like, Jalen Hurts isn't old. You know, he's at the younger part. He's like at the what, like, I wouldn't say middle stage of his career. He's like maybe in the second quarter of his career.
Hurts?
Hurts. Yeah.
I think was he 26, 27?
I don't think he's right. He's like at 6-7 years in now, 6 years. I don't think he's not old. He's not old, dude. Yeah, 26.
No, to say, I think he's actually more on the younger side.
Yeah, he's young. He's young.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, I think that the beneficiary, in terms of for like who comes away with maybe possibly, like, Howie definitely gets a lot of credit for this. But I also look at it like, okay, you weren't willing to commit all the way to Jalen Hurts at one point, and that's probably why Doug Peterson ended up losing his job, was just kind of the indecision of what you're going to do with our draft pick. He ends up losing his job. You end up like Nick Serianni is probably, he's a big benefactor off of this as well, because he did come in and believe in Jalen Hurts to the degree and the capacity that he did, and all it's done is yield victories for Nick Serianni. And so to me, I think there's going to be the conversation that Jalen Hurts has to be at some point considered a rival to Patrick Mahomes in the Patrick Mahomes era. That's a tremendous benefit to be in that conversation because of how elite Patrick Mahomes has been.
Well, he's now just the third quarterback to beat him in the playoffs.
So there you
Brady, Burrow, Jalen Hurts.
Hey, and take it to
Josh
another.
Allen's never done it. Lamar's never done it.
Take it to another level. Let's throw Nick Sirianni and let's see how much longer, Coach Reid stays around. But I mean, is he the arch nemesis to Andy Reid? Does Nick Sirianni build up some real clout off of being the guy who was able to take down and slay Andy Reid and this daunted, Kansas City team?
You know what's great about Philadelphia, though? You can never get comfortable if you're the Eagles, because there's a lot of people saying the same thing about Nick Foles and Doug Peterson, and it was like an hour and a half later they were gone.
Yeah, but this is their second time, though.
I know.
And this is, you're talking, so now they don't have to just meet in the Super Bowl. This now becomes a big game if they're on each other's schedule. Like, anytime these guys go against each other, it's going to be looked at as this is a big-time game because of what has been created with them matching up in the Super Bowl. That's a bit, and the NFL benefits from that. They're a benefactor from that because you can hype that. If I'm the NFL and I'm the schedule makers, I'm 100% trying to make sure that the Eagles and the Chiefs play during the regular season.
There you go. That's a good one.
Right?
That's a good one. I mean, the Hurts and Serianni thing's obvious. I think we all know. I mean, every player, like Josh Sweat, he's a big beneficiary because he could have won the MVP. He's slated to go into free agency, so he's going to get paid a ton. But the NFL, the narrative of these two teams now squaring off, which I don't know if everyone wants to see them play all that often, but based on how the NFC looks, based on Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's track record, you're probably going to see it again at some point in the future.
Also, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, legacy secure. We're good here. Because there was a lot of people that thought Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes were going to make a climb at this. No longer. So those guys
Dang,
also.
so one loss just kills it all, huh?
That's a big loss, man. We talked about it. Like, there's a huge difference between going from 3 to 4, and it just feels like that's a daunting task for Mahomes and Andy Reid to make up that ground towards the end of their career, because I just don't see Andy Reid coaching as long, and I don't see Patrick Mahomes playing as long as Tom Brady did. I mean, Brady played 23 years. You think Patrick Mahomes is going to be, slinging the rock at 44, 45 years old? I mean, I don't see it, but, what the hell do I know?